is a statutory law that deals with HIV/AIDS. Welcome to Court Helicopter Explainer. The whole of last week, on the media, there was the question about Prophet Omari, that he has the power to heal one person or somebody who has HIV/AIDS. It was in the media, in all main. Court Helicopter carried it live. Do you know there is the law? Are you aware there is a law in this country that deals with HIV/AIDS? This is HIV and AIDS Prevention and Control Act number 14 of 2006. Many people don't know that there is a law. Today, we want to tell you what is the law dealing with HIV/AIDS and what it is meant. This law, it was assented on 30th December 2006, and the date of commencement was 1st December 2010. That is, it is very clear for you to understand. Date of assent was 30th December 2006. Date of commencement was 30th March 2009, except for Section 14, Section 18, Section 22, Section 24, and Section 39. Those sections were not allowed to operate. Then, the date of commencement for Section 14, Section 18, Section 22, and Section 24 was on 1st of December, the year 2010. So all this act is now in operation. What does the act say? It is an act of Parliament to provide for measures for the prevention, management, and control of HIV and AIDS, to provide for the protection and promotion of public health, and for the appropriate treatment, counseling, support, and care of persons infected or at risk of HIV and AIDS infection, and for connected purposes. That is the act. We have told you what the act states. Let us go directly to sections 9, safe practices and procedures. Testing of donated tissue. Do you know you can donate your heart, you can donate your kidney, you can donate a part of your organs. You cannot donate a heart when you are alive, but you can donate parts of your body when you are dead. There is a form you fill that if you die, your body organs can be removed to be taken for research at universities. There is also procedures when your relative has a problem with one kidney, you can donate. What does the law say? A person who offers to donate any tissue shall immediately before such donation undergo an HIV test. So you know, that is mandatory. Paragraph 10. What about blood? Everybody is called. Your relative or your friend or your colleague is lying in a hospital. He is involved in an accident. Come and donate blood. You have donated blood. From Court Helicopter, we urge you, if you are young and you don't have underlying conditions, go and give blood. You are saving life. It is noble to give blood, to save people who are suffering, because one day it will be you. It might be your relative. It might be your child. It might be you in an accident. So we urge every Kenyan, everybody in this country, our appeal, because we are dealing with issue of blood, we appeal, donate blood. What does the law say about testing of blood? In paragraph 10, it says, all donated blood shall, as soon as reasonably practical after donation, be subjected to HIV test. Any blood that you give shall immediately be subjected to HIV test. And paragraph 10b says, any blood tested under this and which is found to be HIV positive shall be disposed of in accordance with the prescribed guidelines. But they don't call you and tell you the blood that you gave us was HIV positive. So don't worry. Don't worry. 3. What about operations? You go to the hospital. You are being removed blood by a doctor at the lab. You are being injected a sindano. You are undergoing surgery, whether it is a major procedure or a small procedure. What does the law say? Paragraph 11 says, guidelines on surgical and similar procedures, that every precaution must be taken against HIV transmission during surgical, dental, delivery, embalming, and similar procedures. Anytime you go for delivery of a child in the maternity, anytime you are going for dental to remove your teeth or clean your teeth, anytime you are going for embalming of a dead body, anytime, any procedure, be handling of and disposal of dead bodies. The cadavers, they are called dead bodies. The fluids from dead bodies or wastes of persons with HIV AIDS. The law makes it very clear that any surgical procedure or any disposal of waste from a person who is infected, any fluid, must be handled carefully so that it does not infect anybody. Paragraph 12. Penalty for safe practices and procedures if anybody is found in the medical field to have done this, that institution. In paragraph 12a, the institution's license will be revoked. That hospital license will be revoked. And the person, the doctor, the nurse, anybody who did that, his license or her license will be cancelled, and that person will never be allowed to practice. Let's go to part 4, testing, screening, and access to healthcare. What does the law talk about testing? Paragraph 13, prohibition against compulsory testing. No person shall compel another to undergo a HIV test. Have you been forced to undergo a HIV test? Paragraph 13 says nobody can compel another. 13.2, without prejudice to the generality of subsection 1, no person shall compel another to undergo an HIV test as a precondition to or for the continued enjoyment of employment. You cannot be told to bring a HIV test for you to be employed or for you to be retained in employment. For marriage, you cannot be told go and get a marriage certificate before you marry, or get a marriage certificate, get a HIV certificate for this marriage to continue. C, for an admission into any educational institution, you cannot be told to produce an HIV negative certificate to join primary, to join secondary, to join CBC, to join university, to join any educational institution. D, also, or to entry into or to travel out of the country, you cannot be asked to get an HIV test negative certificate for you to enter the country. Kenya cannot say only people who are HIV negative can enter the country, or to leave the country. That one, you can't. E, the provision of healthcare, insurance cover, or any other service. So that you are being told, if you want a medical cover, you must do a HIV test. I know very many of you, insurance companies, will tell you, we have got to do an HIV test. If they do, without telling you, and you know, walk to court and you'll be compensated. No insurance company, no medical insurance cover is allowed to ask for HIV testing results before or during the cover. If anybody does that, it is a criminal offense. Consent. Paragraph 14. The consent for HIV testing. No person shall undertake an HIV test in respect of another person without that consent. So you cannot do a D, you can't be forced to do without your consent. What about testing centers? Can you turn your office into a testing center? There was a case in Westlands where people were saying, somebody was arrested and charged that before he engaged into intimate relationship, he or she demands for a DNA for HIV test. Have you ever got a companion, somebody who wants intimate relationship, and the first condition is that you must do a DNA, you must do HIV testing in the room? In an Airbnb, somebody is carrying a test kit, tell you, before we sleep with you, you must do a DNA, a HIV test. It's very, very common. Is it illegal? Yes. This is the law. Section 16, testing centers. 1. No person shall carry out an HIV test except in a testing center approved by the minister under this section. So nobody can do HIV testing in an Airbnb, or in his bedroom, or in her bedroom, or in a hotel room. HIV testing must be done in a gazetted medical center. Testing. 2. No person shall carry out an HIV test unless such person is a healthcare provider approved by the minister for that purpose. Only a doctor, only a medical practitioner is allowed to conduct an HIV test. Nobody else. So your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your fiancé, your person you want to enter into a intimate relationship has no legal capacity to demand or to administer an HIV testing. 3. No person shall provide pre-test or post-test counseling for the purpose of this unless that person is approved by the minister under this section. So there are, before testing is done, there are pre-testing counseling sessions, and after it has been done, there are post-testing counseling. Unless one is licensed by the minister, they can't do that. Under section 5, if one does that, he or she commits an offense. Let us deal with Section 17, pre-test and post-testing counseling. Every testing center must do a pre-test. They take you, before they test you, they have got to counsel you. After they have tested you, they must counsel you. Because that information is quite heavy to be told. What about the results? Section 18 provides for how the results will be dealt. The results of an HIV test shall be confidential and shall only be released, one, to the tested person. You cannot go asking the results of HIV for your wife, or for your boyfriend, or for your girlfriend, or for your husband. B, in case of a child, to a parent or a legal guardian of such a child. Only a legal guardian or a parent can get this for a child who is involved in doing this test. So that is the only person allowed that. Confidentiality, paragraph 20. No person, 22, no person shall record, collect, transmit, or store records, information, or forms in respect of HIV tests or related medical assessment of another person, otherwise than in accordance with the privacy guidelines prescribed under this section. If you are a journalist or you are a paparazzi with you cannot record an HIV positive record of a person. Paragraph 22, that is section 22. Disclosure of information. Very, very critical. No person shall disclose any information concerning the result of an HIV test or any related assessment to any other person except A, with the written consent of that person, unless the one tested has given written consent. No doctor, no medical practitioner can disclose that. Number two, if that person has died, the one who was tested, with the written consent of that person's partner, personal representative, or administrator or executor. C, if that person who was tested is a child, with the consent of the parent or a legal guardian. D, if that person is unable to give a written consent, with the oral consent of that person or with the written consent of the person with the power of attorney for that person. We did what a power of attorney is yesterday. You can look at it. So that is very, very confidential. H, unless there is a court order where that information is required, a court can order the results to be brought. I, if that person is the registrar of births and deaths pursuant to section 18 of the Births and Deaths Registration Act, Cap 149, the registrar of births and deaths has a right to get that information. And lastly, if anybody authorized by any law, if you disclose that information, you commit a crime, and that is a penalty under section 23. What about infecting somebody? Some people intentionally infect, especially when somebody feels he's dying. You remember we had the question of the Muzungu who came here and had a lot of relationship with our Kenyan people. The question is, was he HIV positive? And he went around transmitting this. Are you yourself HIV positive? And you're engaging with the ladies or with women without protection? You willingly infect somebody. What does section 24 say? A person who is and is aware of being infected with HIV or is carrying and is aware of carrying the HIV virus shall A, take all reasonable measures and precautions to prevent the transmission of HIV to others. B, inform in advance any sexual contact or person with whom needles are shared of that fact. You, if somebody has that, must inform anybody they are going to share needles. So the question here, the drugs, people who take drugs, vices, people who take shisha, people who take injectables, do you know that injectable can infect another person? You then have a duty to disclose. Paragraph 2 says, a person who is and is aware of being infected with HIV or who is carrying and is aware of carrying HIV shall not knowingly and recklessly place another person at risk or becoming infected with HIV unless that other person knew that fact and voluntarily accepted the risk of being infected. If it is a marriage and a husband is infected and he has disclosed to the wife or the wife has disclosed to the husband that I've tested positive, then the other one says it's okay, we shall continue being intimate, that person becomes a violent and unfit injurier. They cannot complain because they were told in advance. So if you are HIV positive, it is your duty to tell the other, me, I'm this status. Are you ready for the consequences? If the other says yes, it's okay. But if you don't disclose, it is a serious issue. 24(3) says, a person who contravenes provisions of subsection 1 or 2 commits an offense and shall be liable upon conviction to a fine not exceeding 500,000 shillings or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 7 years or to both such fine and imprisonment. It is a serious offense. Wait, if somebody discriminates you in your job because you are HIV positive, you are sacked, you are denied employment, do you go to court? No, you don't go to court. Under section 25, the first place you go to is the HIV and AIDS Tribunal. There is established a tribunal to be known as the HIV and AIDS Tribunal, which will deal with all those issues that we are dealing. Under section 25, what are the powers of this tribunal? The tribunal has powers over subordinate court. It has powers like a chief magistrate's court. It can convict, it can try, it can order, it can summon, just like a magistrate's court has those powers. If anybody is summoned or sued in the HIV AIDS Tribunal and disobeys the summons, he commits an offense and shall be liable upon conviction by the tribunal to a fine not exceeding 15,000 shillings or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 2 years, or both. So the tribunal has powers just like the magistrate. But the last part, people are discriminated because of HIV/AIDS. In paragraph 31, the law prohibits discrimination in workplace, in whichever way. Any workplace, one person with HIV status cannot be discriminated. Section 32, discrimination in schools. Nobody can be discriminated as a student from entering a school or in any matter because of HIV/AIDS. Section 33, restriction on travel and habitation. You cannot be restricted to travel anywhere, or you cannot be restricted to stay in a particular estate. So that we are saying, in Karen, if you are HIV positive, you can't come here. In this estate, you can't come here. In this golf club, you can't be allowed here because you are HIV positive. In section 34, you cannot be inhibited from public service. You cannot be denied from being a public service. You can be a politician, you can be the president, you can be a deputy president, you can be a governor, you can be an MCA, you can be an advocate, you can be a journalist. Section 35, you cannot be excluded from credit. So if you go for a loan from a bank, if you go to look for credit from a SACCO, if you go looking from any financial credit and you are discriminated against section 35, that is serious. Neither can you be denied or excluded from insurance services. That is under section 35. The penalty is provided for in section 38, and it says anybody who commits these offenses commits an offense. What are we learning with? There is a statutory law that deals with HIV/AIDS. Anybody cannot be discriminated under the Constitution based on medical conditions. One of the issues of medical condition is health, is HIV/AIDS. The Constitution provides for non-discrimination of anybody based on medical condition. The Constitution of Kenya, Article 27 says, the state shall not discriminate directly or indirectly against any person on any ground, including health status. Very, very clear. Including health status. HIV/AIDS is a health status. Article 27:5 says, a person shall not discriminate directly or indirectly against another person or any other on grounds of specified or contemplated in clause 4. So, the Constitution does not allow anybody involved, anybody who has HIV/AIDS to be discriminated. The stigma, if you call somebody has HIV/AIDS, whether that person has it or does not have it, it is a defamatory statement. Many people have been sued for defamation cases because of calling others that they have HIV/AIDS. Okay, Danstan Omari, we wish everybody who is affected and infected with the disease HIV/AIDS, and also the families, we wish them a good weekend, a weekend to have peace. HIV/AIDS is no longer a death sentence. Go be tested. If you are found to be HIV positive, you'll be put on ARVs. Many now don't die. What kills is opportunistic diseases. Enroll. Be faithful to the medicine. Be faithful to the counseling. Be faithful to the instructions of the medical providers. It is not a death sentence. People can live for many, many years without death. Wakili Danstan Omari on the issue about HIV and AIDS. I am from the legal perspective.